The highway was almost empty when my cousin Emily called me for the last time. Rain slammed against their windshield while thunder shook the sky over Indiana. She sounded nervous, but she was trying hard not to show it. "We should reach Chicago in a few hours," she told me softly. Then she laughed quietly. "You know Jason keeps driving too fast whenever it rains." I smiled. That was Jason, always joking, always confident, always trying to make Emily feel safe. She was 7 months pregnant at the time, and despite the storm, you could hear happiness in her voice. They were excited about starting a new life in Chicago, new apartment, new jobs, new beginning. None of us knew that only 20 minutes later, everything would be destroyed forever. Because at 11:43 p.m., my phone rang again. But this time, it wasn't Emily. It was the police. And the moment I answered, my entire body froze. "There's been an accident." If you enjoy emotional drama stories filled with heartbreak, survival, suspense, and powerful life lessons, subscribe now. Because this story doesn't just break your heart. It shows how one woman survived the darkest moment of her life. And trust me, the ending changed everyone in our family forever. Emily and Jason had been married for 3 years. Honestly, they were the kind of couple people envied. Not because they were rich, not because life was perfect, but because they genuinely loved each other. Jason worked long hours as a mechanic. Emily worked remotely designing websites from home. And when they found out she was pregnant, Jason cried harder than anyone else. He wanted to become a father more than anything. I still remember family dinners where he would sit beside Emily talking to her stomach like the baby could already understand him. "Hey, little man," he'd whisper. "You better not keep your mom awake at night." Emily would laugh every single time. That laugh felt different after the accident, because afterward, none of us heard it the same way again. A week before the crash, Jason got offered a better job in Chicago. Better salary, better future. So they packed everything into their SUV and started driving from New York toward Illinois. It was supposed to be exciting, a fresh start, a new chapter. But halfway through the trip, the weather became dangerous. Heavy rain, strong wind, poor visibility. I remember texting Emily that night. "Maybe you guys should stop at a hotel." But Jason believed they could make it. That decision haunted everyone later. According to police reports, a truck lost control during the storm. It crossed into their lane suddenly. Jason tried to avoid it, but wet roads move faster than fear. Their SUV spun violently across the highway barrier. Everything happened within seconds. When emergency teams arrived, Jason was unconscious. Emily was trapped inside the vehicle, screaming his name, over and over. "Jason! Jason, please!" The paramedics later said her voice was heartbreaking, not because she was injured, but because deep down, she already knew. At the hospital, doctors managed to stabilize Emily, but Jason never woke up again. 29 years old, gone in one stormy night. And the cruelest part? Emily wasn't allowed to fully break down, because she still carried their baby. Doctors warned her constantly. Too much stress could harm the pregnancy. Imagine hearing that after losing the love of your life. Imagine trying not to collapse emotionally, while your entire future disappears in front of you. Jason's funeral happened 5 days later. Gray skies, cold wind, silence everywhere. Emily sat in the front row wearing black while holding her stomach the entire time, like protecting the baby was the only thing keeping her alive. People cried quietly around her, but Emily barely spoke. She just stared at Jason's photo near the flowers, completely numb. At one point during the service, Jason's mother suddenly broke down crying. He was supposed to become a father. That sentence destroyed everyone emotionally, especially Emily, because for the first time, the reality fully hit her. Jason would never meet his son, never hold him, never hear his first words, never come home again. That pain stayed inside her for years. The months after the funeral were brutal. Emily moved into a tiny apartment outside Chicago. Money became tight quickly. Jason's savings disappeared fast because of medical bills and moving costs. Meanwhile, pregnancy alone was exhausting emotionally. She cried almost every night. Sometimes because she missed Jason, sometimes because she felt terrified, and sometimes because loneliness becomes unbearable after midnight, especially for grieving people. Then one evening, Emily found an old voice message from Jason saved on her phone. His voice instantly shattered her. "Hey, Em, don't forget we still need baby clothes tomorrow." She replayed that message for hours, crying silently in the dark. Because grief works strangely. Sometimes one tiny memory hurts more than the tragedy itself. 3 months later, Emily went into labor during another storm. And honestly, everyone panicked. Because storms reminded her of the accident immediately. The hospital room felt tense the entire night. Emily kept crying during contractions, not because of pain, but because Jason wasn't beside her. At one point, she whispered quietly, "He promised he'd hold my hand when our baby was born." Even the nurse started crying. After 12 exhausting hours, the baby finally arrived. A healthy little boy, dark hair, tiny hands, and Jason's exact eyes. The moment Emily saw him, something changed inside her. For the first time since the accident, she smiled again. Not fully, not perfectly, but enough. She named him Noah, because Jason loved that name. And while holding her son for the first time, Emily whispered softly, "Your dad would have loved you so much." A few weeks later, Emily started unpacking old moving boxes from the crash. That's when she found something unexpected. One sealed envelope hidden between Jason's clothes. Her hands shook immediately, because his handwriting covered the front. "For Emily and our baby." Inside was a letter Jason wrote weeks before the road trip. Emily cried before even opening it. The letter read, "If anything ever happens to me, I need you to know you were the best thing that ever happened in my life. And our son, he's already the reason I work harder every day." Emily couldn't breathe properly while reading. Tears covered the paper instantly. But the final sentence broke her completely. "Promise me you'll keep living, even if life gets hard." That letter became her emotional lifeline afterward. Whenever depression hit, she reread it. Whenever loneliness became unbearable, she reread it. Whenever she felt like giving up, she reread it again. Raising Noah alone wasn't easy. Emily worked late nights while caring for a newborn. Sometimes she barely slept. Sometimes she cried quietly while washing dishes because exhaustion overwhelmed her emotionally. And honestly, single motherhood after tragedy changes people deeply, especially when grief never fully disappears. But slowly, Emily became stronger. Not because pain disappeared, but because Noah needed her. And children somehow give broken people reasons to survive. Years passed. Noah started school. And one day during class, the teacher asked students to draw their families. That evening, Noah showed Emily his drawing proudly. It showed him, Emily, and a man standing beside them under clouds. Emily stared silently. "Who's that?" she asked softly. Noah smiled. "My dad." Her eyes instantly filled with tears. "But you never met him." Noah shrugged gently. "I know, but he still loves us." That moment emotionally destroyed Emily, but in a beautiful way, because somehow, Jason still lived inside their son. 10 years after the accident, Emily finally returned to the highway where everything happened. She hadn't visited since that night. Too painful, too traumatic. But Noah wanted to see it. Together they stood quietly near the roadside memorial. Wind moved softly around them. Noah placed flowers beside Jason's old photograph. Then he looked at Emily. "Mom? Yeah? I think Dad would be proud of you." That sentence shattered every emotional wall Emily spent years building. Because surviving grief isn't loud, it's quiet. It's waking up every day despite heartbreak. It's choosing life again and again, even after tragedy steals everything, and standing there beside her son. Emily finally realized something important. The accident destroyed part of her life, but it didn't destroy all of it, because love survived, through Noah, through memories, through strength, and through the promise Jason left behind. Keep living. Sometimes life changes in one single moment. One phone call, one storm, one accident. But even after unimaginable heartbreak, people can still heal slowly. Not perfectly, but enough to keep moving forward. And maybe that's real strength. Not forgetting pain, but learning how to survive beside it. If this emotional story touched your heart, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more dramatic life stories every week. And tell me honestly, what would you do after losing everything overnight?